All right.
Recording in progress. Here we are, session 2.
Unscripted conversations.
Yeah. With the parentheses.
Yes. All right. So, do you want to start with what there is to acknowledge? Because that's kind of how we talk, right? Like we make sure things are complete and talking about last week and things that happened in our lives in the last week.
Are you pointing to something in particular? Because I can.
You're at peace?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so I am thankful for people who had generous comments on our Facebook page and YouTube page. It was really wonderful. I want to acknowledge that I got one really negative feedback that I still don't understand what it means. That's actually, I also have a question. So there are two things that I want to
we should
deal with.
Look at the question, yeah.
Okay, but we can look at like how we are when we get negative feedback from outside. Do you recall the time when you had negative feedback from somebody and it affected you?
I mean, I usually just get angry. See, I don't get hurt. Well, I get hurt, and in being hurt, I get angry. So it doesn't occur like I'm just hurting. Like somebody looking at me would just see me being upset. And often when I get upset, I get destructive. You know, that's where I go. I go to, don't you freak, you don't get to do that to me. You know, some version of that, like you don't get to do that to me. And then I go try to be destructive.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that completely. And looking at for myself, like I think how I deal with feedback has changed over time. I come from, and no offense to all the people from my culture, but I come from a culture where people comment a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You notice that. Like when you come to Montenegro, you do notice that we talk about like, look at what she's wearing, look at this, look at that, and all these things that you're like, oh my God, like how do you talk like that? To us, it's sort of normal. We sit in a cafe and kind of like this and watching people pass by.
And make fun of them, right? Or comment on them, I should say.
You know, and there's also this, I guess it's in a culture that if I don't tell you that this needs a little ironing or something like that, I feel I'm betraying you.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
in some way.
And that would work if the person receiving that comment is also in the culture. So it's expected. Do you know what I mean? Now it might still hurt, it might still be bothersome, right? But at the very least it's expected or they're used to it. Do you know?
Yeah.
Somebody being outside, not knowing, not expecting it, could have a totally completely different reaction, which is, you know, cultural differences that happen often. Right?
I mean, one of my friends, you know, who's in sales, she said that, you know, companies pay a lot of money to get feedback. So, you know, when somebody gives you solicited or unsolicited feedback, it's, you know, it's an opportunity to look and improve. What I get really bothered by is, we lost the lights. It's okay. I think it actually looks pretty fine. What I get bothered by is when the criticism disempowers rather than empowers me. So, for example, if I tell you, you know, that color doesn't look good on you, try blue, that's empowering because if you care about the light reflection, I mean, I'm making it up, but if you care about that I'm noticing last week I made a close, you know, anyway, I made a close example, but that's constructive, right? Like if you do this, you look like this, or, you know, you look brighter or less tired or whatnot. It's a little bit easier to take when it's something that feels like you're a flawed human, because I think that experience of like I'm just flawed just hurts us.
Right.
It feels that kind of criticism is hurtful. It just doesn't leave room for oh, let me put something in that can make this be better for next time.
Right.
It's just blatant opinion that doesn't have instructions or gives room for improvement. It's more like, that's just bad, don't do it.
Right, but it's interesting. The moment you said the thing about my shirt, like my brain was just, you know, working, and she probably noticed it even though she didn't say it. You know, you said like that's a positive thing to say, well, you know, your shirt's purple, it's not really good on you, maybe you should, you know, try something else.
I'm not, yeah.
And it could be a totally completely positive comment, right? But let's just, for the sake of argument, given this conversation, what if I took a lot of time to pick this shirt? And what if I really, 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 really love this particular shirt? And I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, I look so freaking sharp for this video. And I'm so ready. And you go, yeah, that shirt, yeah, it's not a great color.
Yeah, it's not great.
Right?
It's not great. I mean, it was a bad example.
No, but the example is perfect, right? Because I think what I see, what it points out to me, like in hearing it, by the way, she could tell me the thing is purple is not bad for me. It doesn't bother me at all, right? I'm really just using the example because what I almost felt like was like, it because it's a communication, there's really like almost like two energies. There's the energy of the person saying it, and there's the energy of the person receiving it.
Yeah, you have to be in a same sandbox, and like that can only work. I mean, I was really using example on you because I know how you feel, but that would only work if you are asking for feedback and looking at, does this look better or that looks better? If you got already the way you described it, I would just be like, go with it. I would actually suck it up that I don't think it looks good.
But you might not know. See, now in this
What do you
case,
mean?
well, if you're commenting about somebody's shirt, you know, like you had an issue with somebody on the outside commenting about the video, right? If somebody on the outside commented about my shirt, thinking they're doing something positive.
But that's not feedback. That's not feedback. That's just criticism. That's just criticism. The only way, to me, it works is if you come to me and you ask me, do you think this color looks good on me? You know, or do I look tired? I will tell you, well, if it's true, I will tell you, yeah, you look a little tired. Do you have a navy one? Or let's try that.
Right.
I would make it constructive, and if I knew that there was no other solution, I would not make it a big deal. I've learned to do that. I have a lot of opinions naturally, right? It comes, it's cultural, and I see keenly. Like I really have like an intense way of seeing things. It reminds me of, you know, I studied film and I studied editing, and there was at a time when we had the celluloid film, so it was literally frame by frame.
Yeah.
You don't miss anything. Once you edit like X amount of hours, you notice discrepancies in everything. It's really, I mean, how many times did we watch a movie and I said, oh my God, like he had that shirt in the last scene and this shirt.
Yeah.
It's a discrepancy. So my eye is very trained. So I see all the time. But unless asked and unless I know it's a contribution, I don't say it. I literally give it up. And it took me a long time to learn that, because I used to not. Like I offended a lot of people by thinking it's a contribution and it wasn't,
right.
or I would feel it still or think it still, but not really give it up. And then it would be in a space like an elephant in a room. I literally had to be like, okay, you know, I see that, I got it. Not the best shirt. Okay, got it. Give it up. And then I look at you and I go like, okay, I see your eyes. I see your face. I see your smile. And I turn the attention on something that I can appreciate. So that's what I do.
That's a good one, actually.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on a thing that doesn't work, you try to find something that you actually appreciate.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, when it comes to feedback, like I'm a grown woman, so I'll deal with any feedback my way. Not that I'm inviting it.
or criticism. I mean, the case, it sounds like that was more criticism than feedback.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, my coach told me, you are addicted to feedback. Don't ask people for feedback. And I really get that, because I think, like, I so nonchalantly ask people, tell me what you think, or like, any feedback is appreciated. I don't mean come at me. That's not what I mean by that. I literally mean to say, like, look, I did this.
Right.
I'm sharing it.
Yeah.
So it's an authentic request, number one, right?
Yeah.
But number two, yes, like asking for feedback. It's like I have this need to be acknowledged. Like I want to understand that what I'm doing is seen, and like, does it make a difference? Does it make sense? Does it do anything?
Right.
I'm not inviting, like, attack me, but I'm inviting a conversation and discussion.
Yeah.
But more than that, like, that's, I have a lot to say about feedback as an adult, but I think our kids are dealing with a lot of feedback and criticism, and children can be quiet. Sometimes, like, it's innocent.
Yeah,
it's innocent in a sense that, like Marko, I don't know how many people on our Facebook even know that Marko has this fluency, like he stutters a little bit. And kids, like when he was younger, it was like water to the fish. So it was just the way he spoke, and we were listening to him. He had a speech therapist, and kids were used to him in his old school. And he's now in a new school, and a few kids went to him and said, why do you talk like that? And it could have been innocent, but it could have been like, well, why do you talk like that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What's wrong with you that you
or
talk like that?
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And so our kids are so, like, we deal with feedback that they get in school all the time. And I feel pretty paralyzed sometimes. And like, how to arm them with being confident. Like, you don't want to be like, well, don't worry about what other people are saying, and be so, like, dismissive. But at the same time, you don't want them to stop creating and stop expanding because they feel that somehow they don't have a right to.
Yeah.
Because of somebody saying something to them.
Yeah. As you were saying that, it reminded me of my childhood. Around that age, 10, maybe 8, 9, 10. I was made fun a lot in grade school. And I don't know if it was bullying per se, I can't remember. And of course, we're talking late 80s, right? So bullying probably had a different perspective, different view in society than it does today. But I was made fun a lot at school.
For what?
Because of my ears. So something I can't control. I have, and they don't look that bad now. They were like much more out at the time, much more like a monkey, right? So they had all these nicknames for me, which really meant nothing. They were just like made up words to tease me, to like, pick at me, right? And it was really tough. And I remember my dad trying to help. Like, he so tried to help. He didn't know what to do, honestly. He didn't know what to do. Looking back, that's my experience, right? But he tried, right? It was like, ignore them, say this back to them. Like, there was all these like different like techniques of what to do. What to say back to them or whatever. And but the only thing I think that ended up working, and I know that ended up working because as I got older, I wanted to get surgery for my ears. I wanted to get plastic surgery. I think what worked was I just got confident and stable in who I am with myself.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's really huge.
Yeah. And I hadn't seen it until like this conversation.
Wow.
Because I went to see doctors for the plastic surgery, and like we talked about, my parents were like, if you want to do it, do it, I was older, I was probably 12 around that time. It was still bothering me, right? Going to high school, I was concerned. In Quebec, high school starts at 7th grade. So, you go from grade school until 6th, then 7th grade is high school, right? So I was concerned about maybe being made fun in high school about that, and, but I just got, like, settled with myself.
Wow.
At some level, right?
Wow, I can. Yeah, I can get that you have that, because when, not to bring other people into this, but like I've seen people say things to you and you would just be like, thank you.
Yeah.
And you really get that whatever people say is about them, and then if it works for you, you'll do it, and if it doesn't, you won't, and you brush it off.
Yeah.
Like even when I got feedback that I got, in that moment you were like, that's not about you, that's about the other person.
Yeah.
And you just so clearly got it.
Yeah.
To me, I let it like rip. It's just
Yeah.
like come at me, like
Yeah.
break me apart, like get me undone, and I'll put myself back together. But it takes me on a stormy ride.
Yeah, I get it.
So maybe there's a whole new level for me to be settled with myself. Gosh, I'm thinking like I'm 46. Like, when will I get settled?
Yeah.
And I think us being settled would allow kids. Gosh, I don't have.
We don't have. Do you want me to get
tissue.
something?
No, it's
Should
okay.
I?
Yeah. I think we should wrap up probably soon. But anyway, I'll just let them. I'll let them go. And but I think I just want to say this thought. I think like us being settled in ourselves would have the kids be settled in themselves, and they have some makings of it. Like they are sort of settled. They're not fully, discombobulated by the comments that they get. Whether it's like, why you wear glasses, why you stutter, why you don't eat. Marko has the celiac disease as well. Like we really deal with a lot.
Yeah.
Not that this was going to be a mopey session.
This is unscripted, right?
Unscripted, that's what you get. I think it'll take us like a couple of episodes until we get into the rhythm and stop. Jason, actually, can I say that? You don't know what I'm going to say.
I know, so say it.
Jason, when we watch a movie, he's the first one to cry.
Yeah, I'm like, give me a sappy commercial,
He cries so fast, and I'm like, what are you crying for? And I get like, takes me out of it. But I think,
Yeah, it really, and what you were sharing even about Marko, like I could get it. There's moments in time, and you can even see it even in his own personality. There's moments where he's settled. I have this, I have that, and I'm me, right? And I'm great, and like that. And then there's some moments where kind of like that confidence or his experience of being is not as strong.
Wobbles,
It wobbles, right? And definitely a child thing, I'm sure, right? Because children go through these phases, and when there's new, a lot of even these things you were mentioning of that was at the beginning when he started in his new school mid-year, right? So there was a lot of changes. We just moved. There's a lot of like these things that you anchor you, right, that weren't there.
We changed location. We changed, they were homeschooled for 3 months. So
2-3 months.
And then we started. We came to the new place, much better, but still, it's a change.
Big change.
And then they started a new school, so it was a lot of differences.
News. Yeah.
And I think, and this is a credit to all the parents listening. We're parenting in a new era.
Yeah.
Never before were we as alone as we are right now.
Yeah.
And never before have we had so many inputs. I remember, I think it was Adrian Mikulka, remember what she told me, she's like highly trained in transformational work, and like word creates world. So being like, when she had her girls, her and Chris were really trained in creating with their words. So they were very careful with what they say and don't say with their kids. And then when they had input from like grandparents and this person and that person, and people said all kinds of stuff in the presence of a child, she said that was one of the hardest things that she had to deal with. This was like way before. I don't even know she's like dealing with that right now. Right? 10 years ago or more. But I really started noticing that with our kids. So we have what we say, and then we have what the grandparents and the, you know, other people say, and what, you know, even strangers outside. But then also there's the internet, and there's like all this information that comes from a variety of different places. You can't digest this as an adult, let alone a child. Yeah. And so we're parenting the new generation of kids who see anything possible, but then we gotta kind of figure out a way to teach them some basic things that I even think some of the adults are not practicing so well. So it's probably a new episode, but
probably another week. Yeah.
Anything else to complete?
No, I mean, I know we had a question that we mentioned earlier we're gonna get to. I don't think we have time now.
We don't. Well, let's just briefly mention something about it, because I want to honor that I said that. Basically, the question was, I'll say it verbatim. How do you learn to speak up, hold boundaries, learn to love your husband instead of running thoughts of divorce in your head? Kind of like being in a boat together, but blowing up my escape boat to be ready nearby. Let's leave this for next episode, right?
Yeah, let's leave it for next episode. Yeah,
we're making a teaser. This is impromptu, but I think I can get this being a whole discussion.
Yeah, that's a whole discussion.
Let's record that later.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks.